सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं पुराणन्यायमीमांसा धर्मशास्त्राङ्गमिश्रिताः वेदाः स्थानानि विद्यानां धर्मस्य च चतुर्दश आयुर्वेदो धनुर्वेदो गान्धर्वश्चैव ते त्रयः अर्थशास्त्रं चतुर्थन्तु विद्याः अष्टादशैव ताः ओम शांति शांति शांति. Namaste. I welcome everyone who is watching this video. This video is second in a new series of talks with the well-known Indian scholar and Sanskritist Dr. Radhavallabh Tripathi ji. This series is brought to you by INDICA Bhasha. The first video in this series was titled Modern Sanskrit Writings, Genres and Trends. The link to that can be accessed from the description of this particular video. Today's video is titled Mahākāvya in Modern Sanskrit Literature. With those few words, I welcome Dr. Tripathi to share his views on this topic. Welcome, Professor. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you very much. So in the first lecture on modern Sanskrit writings, I have introduced the major genres, forms of literature which have been adopted by the modern authors in Sanskrit, and the tendencies as well as the achievements of modern Sanskrit literature. Today we will be talking about the Mahākāvya-s that have been written in 19th and 20th century in Sanskrit. Mahākāvya, or the epic poetry, is one of the most prominent forms of creative writings in Sanskrit. And right from the hoary past, Mahākāvya literature forms the major corpus of Sanskrit literature. In modern period, that is during the 19th and 20th centuries also, a large number of Mahākāvyas have been written in Sanskrit. And there are several types of Mahākāvyas which the poets during these 2 centuries have produced. So if we go to the types of the Mahākāvyas that have been written during the past 200 years in Sanskrit, there are mythological themes taken up in the Mahākāvyas, or Puranic themes from Ramayana, Mahabharata and Puranas. Then there are philosophical Mahākāvyas, and this is also very interesting that some of the Mahākāvyas take up philosophical issues as their theme, and then some of them also are allegorical or pratikatmak. Then many of the Mahākāvyas are historical, and they also consider the political scenario. Even many of the Mahākāvyas take up the modern political situation. And there are biographical Mahākāvyas, Jivan Charitatmak Mahākāvya, we can say. And then at least there are 3 Mahākāvyas which I have found, which are autobiographical. It's a new trend, we can say. There is a Mahākāvya, Atmacharitam by Ramkrishna Bhandarkar, and then one Mahākāvya by Svetam by Madhusudan Mishra, and one Mahākāvya by Ramchandra Koradkar. So during my studies, at least there are 3 Mahākāvyas where the authors write their own account of their own life journey. And this may be a new trend, because autobiography is a new form, and in modern Sanskrit writings there are autobiographies also written in prose, and in Mahākāvya form there are autobiographies. So new experimentations are also done in the Mahākāvya. It's an age-old form, and the characteristics of Mahākāvya are laid down, that it should have a noble great Dhirodatta Nayaka belonging to a great Kshatriya family, and it should be a grand narrative, and all the rasas should be taken up, and there should be descriptions of rivers, mountains, seasons, etc., etc. So some of the Mahakavyas, or many of the Mahakavyas which have been produced during the past 2 centuries, they follow these lakshanas, or these characteristics of the Mahakavya as defined by the acharyas in the Kavya Shastra. But many of them break from the tradition, and uh, new forms or new designs are introduced in the Mahakavya. So we will come to them. And one thing which I had pointed out in my first lecture also, that Mahakavyas are written in the perhaps in the largest number in Sanskrit amongst all the languages in modern Indian literature. And this Mahakavya form is quite popular amongst the poets or authors in Sanskrit. In other languages, Mahakavya doesn't form that much of the prominence, and it is supposed to have become obsolete. As I know, in Hindi, uh, no great Mahakavya is produced after the Kamayani of Shankar Prasad. Some Mahakavyas are written, but in the main kernel of literary writings, Mahakavya doesn't come into the mainstream of it. But in Sanskrit, Mahakavyas are written in profusion, and if we count maybe more than 1,000 Mahakavyas, we can enlist, which have been produced during the past 2 centuries, such an enormous number. There is one researcher, Professor Rahasvihari Dwivedi, who researched on modern Sanskrit Mahakavyas of modern of 20th century. He has given an account of 126 Mahakavyas published after independence. But his research work was produced in 1970. So from 1949 to 1970, he could find 126 Mahakavyas. So this is quite a large number, and this is only for two decades. So for 200 decades, you can understand that there may be more than 1,000 Mahakavyas which have been produced during these 2 centuries. So enormous number of Mahakavyas have been written by the authors of Sanskrit, and it is not the same form like Kalidasa's even Kalidasa experimented, and he wrote a Mahakavya with many heroes. So the acharyas had to redefine the characteristics of the Mahakavya, that there can be many heroes. In Raghuvansha, there are several heroes of the same dynasty in the Mahakavya, Raghu dynasty. So the whole dynasty or Vansh can be described in the Mahakavya, not one single hero. So in the same way, the modern authors have changed the concepts of Mahakavya, or the characteristics they have experimented with the age-old form, and the concept of hero has undergone the change. It is not always the great noble hero datta, hero from a Kshatriya family or great noble king. We will come to it, and the set pattern of the Mahakavyas has been set aside, and new patterns have been evolved. Heroes from the middle class society can be described or can be taken up in a Mahakavya, in a modern Mahakavya. Even heroes from the Dalit families, they have been described in the Mahakavyas. Their life forms the part of the Mahakavya. And national heroes, this is also a great phenomena, that there are hundreds of Mahakavyas on modern national heroes. There are several Mahakavyas on Gandhi, on Nehru, on Subhash Charitam by Subodh Chandra Pant and others. Even there are Mahakavyas on Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and on Arvindo, on Vivekananda, there are Mahakavyas. And there are Mahakavyas which project Dalits or saints as heroes. Mahakavyas on Shankaracharya, you can say. There are two Mahakavyas on Goswami Tulsidasa, who is a great saint in Hindi belt. So these new themes have been introduced, and Mahakavya, the form, has changed a lot. And coming to the new concept of hero, the very concept of hero has underwent a challenge, and the emphasis is shifted to national figures with a socio-political background from the contemporary times. Subhash Chandra Pant and Vishwanath Keshav Chhatre have written on the life of freedom fighters like Rani Jhansi Lakshmibai. Jhansishwari Charitam is Mahakavya by Subhash Chandra Pant, and Subhash Charitam by Keshav Chhatre. So, and Vishnu Datta Sharma has written Guru Nanak Dev Charitam. And there are even two Mahakavyas titled Indira Gandhi Charitam, and several other national heroes. They have been described as hero in the Mahakavyas. Then themes have been changed in modern Sanskrit Mahakavya. There is a Mahakavya Aryodaya. It describes the origin and development of Indian civilization. So there is no single hero. The whole history of civilization forms the theme. And Swami Dayananda has been described here prominently. Then there is a Mahakavya Ganga Sagariyam. So it describes the origin of Ganga river and her journey to seas. And Ganga becomes the heroine, and she is deified, and her life becomes a story. So it's a significant change in the whole concept of Mahakavya. And the ladies form the major characters. So there are no heroes. Feminine characters are highlighted, like in Sulochana, the wife of Meghnada. Her life has been depicted prominently. So Kristu Bhagavatam, the life of Christ, has been. It's a beautiful Mahakavya by Devasya, P.C. Devasya, and Keralodayam, the whole civilization or culture and history of Kerala state has been described. It's an enormous, voluminous Mahakavya in Sanskrit. So in this way, new themes and new subject matters have been introduced. And the only characteristics that it should be a grand narrative, it should have sublime, udatta tattva. Otherwise, there are no such heroes which are prescribed in the characteristics or lakshanas of the Mahakavyas. New heroes have emerged. New designs and fresh ideas have been taken up in the modern Mahakavyas, like Bhubhamini Vilasa Kavyam. It's a good Mahakavya by Ramsevak Malviya. So social themes have been taken up, social struggle, social realities, and the misbeliefs of the people, blind beliefs of the people, social reforms, they also form the trajectory of modern Mahakavyas. Many of the Mahakavyas are on Puranic themes, on the old Akhyanas, but they introduce the authors introduce the contemporary designs in them, and the contemporary scenario is brought up, like the life of widows in Rukmini Haran Mahakavya, and social disparities, Samajik Vishamta. It has been introduced or brought up in such Mahakavyas. Life of Ganesha has been presented in the Mahakavya Ganapati Sambhavam by Prabhudatta Shastri. But Ganapati becomes a symbol of modern democratic value system, Gana system and Ganatantra. So in this way, new ideas which are relevant to our times, they are introduced in the old story, or sometimes the entirely new story is adopted. And there are several Mahakavyas on Puranic themes where contemporary issues have been symbolically introduced. And new themes in the age-old forms have been introduced. Kashinath Mishra has changed the form, and he has written Karnata Raja Tarangini, history of Bihar or Mithila, where Karnata kings have ruled. And like Raj Tarangini, he has written a new Raj Tarangini in Sanskrit for He is a good author in 20th century, and the age-old form has been taken up again to take up fresh issues in the history. So now we begin discussing some of the major authors, beginning from early, beginning from 19th century to late 20th century. Chandidas is one of the well-known poets. He was born in 1805, in the beginning of 19th century. He's from Haryana, and he was a court poet under the patronage of Ranveer Singh, and he has written 3 Mahākāvya-s, Radha Sundar Bhakti Bodha, and Rama Pratapodayam, and Raghunath Gunodayam. Raghunath Gunodayam is on Ramayana theme, and Rama Pratapodayam is extols his patron or his Vansh Parampara, and Radha Sundar Bhakti Bodha is Vaishnavite poem with devotion to Radha and Krishna. Then Urvi Datta Shastri was born in 1868. He has written 2 Mahākāvyas, Edward Vansh Mahākāvya. We can see that Mahākāvyas are written describing the foreign rulers. Even Muslim rulers have been taken up as heroes, or English rulers, the British rulers, they have been described as heroes. And this Edward Vansh Mahākāvya is one such Mahākāvya. Some Edward, who was ruling in the area under British India Company, he has been described as the hero. Then Sultan Jahan Vinod Mahākavyam, he came to Bhopala, and the Begum of Bhopal patronized him. She was called, actually invited in the court of the Begum of Bhopal. And for the Begum of Bhopal, he wrote this voluminous Mahākāvya describing the whole dynasty of the Bhopal rulers, the state of Bhopal, and the Muslim rule in Bhopal state. He is a good poet, and it's a good Mahākāvya, the Sultan Jahan Vinod Mahākavyam. So it has historical value because it describes various facts and various facets of modern history during 19th and 20th centuries. Then Sitaram Bhatta Parvanikar is one of the well-known authors in 19th century, and he has written Jay Vansham, a Mahākāvya in 19 cantos, then Nal Vilasam in 32 cantos, and Nava Vilasam in 16 cantos, and Raghav Charitam in 15 cantos, and Laghu Raghu Kavyam in 19 cantos. He is a prolific author. In several other forms also he has written, this Parvanikar, but he has written at least these 5 Mahākāvyas on diverse themes, and his poetry is very lucid and perspicuous. And he has been popular in the state of Jaipur. He was patronized by Jai Singh III. Then Srishwar Vidyalankar is a noted author, and he is a good poet also. And he comes from Bengal, Rangpur of Bengal. He passed away in 1905, early 20th century. So he lived in 19th century, and he composed Vijayini Mahākāvya on the life of Victoria in 12 cantos. Another Mahākāvya is the Dilli Vaibhavam by Srishwar Vidyalankara. So these 2 Mahākāvyas on modern history. Even on the life of Queen Victoria, he is writing a Mahākāvya, and 12 cantos, a voluminous Mahākāvya. And they are describing the Viceroy, the rule of Britishers in India, and the history they are taking up, the situation of India. There is an inherent feeling for national struggle for freedom also. It is there introduced in these Mahākāvyas. So new history is being written through the Mahākāvyas. And a very good poet, one of the great poets from 19th and 20th century, is Ramnath Tarkalankara. In his Vasudeva Vijayam, he has written on the episode of this Parijata Harana by Sri Krishna. But the whole spirit of freedom and struggle for independence has been indicated or hinted upon in the words of Sri Krishna. Kirtistamaling tam ranite saubhagya sampattam upaiti lakshmi pritir mustam bhajate prakamam granati keshe shahita shriyam. Yeah, we should fight our enemies to earn our fame, and we should attain our glory, saubhagya sampat and lakshmi, by struggling against the enemies. This is the call given. So there is a there is an indirect hint on the national struggle for freedom that is going on. And in the next stanza, he says, Ha Partantriyam Nirayam Vinakti. The dependence or Partantriya is like hell of life. So one should break the walls of this Partantriya. Vinakti Chittam, Virunoti Vittam. It is a crushing feeling of dependence or being subjugated by the foreigners. This is the hint in the. So even if they are taking some Puranic theme, the modern scenario, modern socio-political scenario, and the India's national struggle for freedom, that is being hinted upon indirectly. And Asubhyapaya Shwapino Jahima Swatantrata Mantra Matandrinodya. Even by giving our asus or life, pranas, we will not give up our struggle and Swatantrata mantra, this mantra of Swatantrata, we will not give up. So these are the slogans being projected even through the Mahākāvya-s on traditional stories or Puranic stories. So the scenario has changed in the Mahākāvya, and the authors are conscious of the political struggles, political realities. Then Sri Krishna Ram Bhatta authored Kachvansh Mahākāvya. It's a good historical epic, and the whole dynasty, Amer dynasty, has been described in 17 cantos. It's a rich source of modern history of Rajasthan. There are hundreds of Mahākavyas on the history of Rajasthan, and in 19th and 20th centuries, this tradition of writing history through Mahākavyas has continued, especially in Rajasthan. Shiv Kumar Shastri, who lived from 1857 to 1918, he wrote two Mahākavyas. It's Bhavananda Charitam on the life of Swami Bhavananda. Shiv Kumar Shastri is one of the great poets from Kashi, one of the greatest Pandits from Kashi, and he is a good poet also. And second Mahākavya by him is Yatindra Deshik Charitam on the life of Bhaskarananda Saraswati. So he writes on the life of saints and scholars, great scholars and great Pandits. And Indana Charitam, very interesting Mahākavya by Narayana Chandra. So Ashley Eden Charitam. Ashley Eden was the ruler of the state. He was some lieutenant general in Bengal. And this Pandit has written on the life history of that Ashley Eden in that Mahākavya. Then Chandrakant Tarka Lankar has written Chandravansh Mahākavyam, again an historical Mahākavya. So there are historical Mahākavyas taking the modern culture also into account. Then Keral Verma is one of the great poets in Indian literature of 19th, 20th centuries. He lived between 1845 to 1915. He is supposed to be the father of Malayalam literature also. And he was a great Sanskrit Pandit and poet and a great Malayalam author also. And he has written several books he has written in Sanskrit and Malayalam. And he is a celebrated author in both the languages. And his Vishak Vijay Mahākavya is one of the best Mahākavyas in modern period of Sanskrit literature. And it's a it gives the history of the rulers of Travancore state, particularly Vishakham Tirunal and Ailiam Tirunala. And so in this way, these Keral Verma gave a very realistic touch in describing the terrors and havoc created by one of the rulers of Travancore state, Ailiam Tirunala. He put Keral Verma into jail, and the whole horror and suffering of living in prison, that also Keral Verma has described. And it's a powerful Mahākavya with a powerful narrative of the rulers of Travancore. And Vishakham Tirunal was one of the good rulers, and he patronized Keral Verma. So his rule also he has described. The whole narrative is as seen and experienced by Keral Verma. The whole story of his life also is interwoven in these Mahakavya. So we see that, and I will omit these citations, quite a brilliant piece of poetry also. Then Germany Mahakavya was written by Shyam Sundar Tagore, and it is the historical account of war between Germany and England in during the World War. And Venkat Narasimhacharya has written um, Jaisimha Ashwamedhiyam, the narrative of the Ashwamedha Yagya performed by King Jaisingh of Jaipur. So it's a modern history also. And Ananda Charan Tark Chudamani is one of the major poets of 20th century. He has written Ramapyudayam and Mahaprasthanam, these two Mahakavyas. Ramapyudayam is on Ramayana theme and Mahaprasthanam is on Mahabharata theme after the Great War. After the Great War is over, the feeling of helplessness and disaster, which is, and the emptiness, shallowness of the whole life, that is the experience. So we can see that the relevance of the Mahakavya, it is being written after the Second World War, and Mahabharata war becomes the symbolic of the World War and the trauma and the helplessness and the disaster of the World War that is projected, and the peace, the anguish of the war, experience of the anguish and disaster is very moving in this Mahakavya, and the feeling for the search for peace percolates the whole texture of the Mahakavya. Then Angla Samrajyam is the Mahakavya by Raj Varma. The whole history of the British rule in India, right from the Muslim period, the way they entered the Muslim court, the way they deceived, they were very cunning and conniving, and how they infiltrated in India, how they set their rule in India, how they deceived the Indian states. So all these narratives, it's a great Mahakavya, one of the best Mahakavyas in Sanskrit. And Raj Varma, otherwise, is a good author in Sanskrit. He lived from 1863 to 1918. The Mahakavya begins from the description of London. Asti prashasteshvatalantikabdik kshiptesu vishwak puramandaleshu. On the coastal area of the Atlantic Sea, there is a great city, beautiful city of London. Tisa Nadi Tira Vatansa Bhutam. On the banks of Thames, Bhumandalam London Namadheyam. It is the jewel of earth, this city of London. And there this Queen Victoria ruled, and how her rule was there in India at that time, and how the whole history of the British rulers has been taken up in this Mahakavya. Then Srishwar Vidyalankar, he has written Dilli Mahotsav Kavya and Vijayini Mahakavya, these two Mahakavyas. Dilli Mahotsav Kavya describes the coronation ceremony of Lord Curzon and the modern history of the British rule in India. And Vijayini Mahakavya describes the life of Queen Victoria. Then there are Mahakavyas on Puranic themes written in the late 19th century and early 20th century. Then Vidya Vilasini Charitam by Harivallabh Bhatta. It's a very significant allegorical Puranic story of the life of a Sati, Vidya Vilasini. Then Kavikanta Ganapati Muni, who was born in 1828, is one of the most renowned spiritual seekers in India, and he is highly regarded in the amongst the Arvindites, or amongst his devotees. There is a long list of his writings in Sanskrit, and many of them are voluminous writings like Uma Sahasrakam, Indrani Saptashati. It's a modern Saptashati on Indrani, and Uma Sahasrakam, 1000 stanzas on Uma. So they are not Mahakavya in the set, following the set pattern of Mahakavya. Their caliber is Mahakavya-like, and some such writings by Ganpati Muni, they are rich. There is a rich poetry in them, and language is very rich with the imagination. Tripuri Sundari Geetam and Sondaryamba Nirvana Shatkam, etc. So several works he has produced, several Shastric works also he has produced, Ganpati Muni. And Galgali Ramacharya is one of the great poets of 19th, 20th century. I will refer to him when we discuss lyric poetry or other forms of poetry in subsequent lectures. But Galgali Ramacharya has written Yaduvansh Mahākāvya on the pattern of Raghuvansha by Kalidasa and the whole dynasty of Yadus. Yadava dynasty he has described in this Yaduvansh Mahākāvya. Now we have Mahākāvyas which describe political struggle in India. Rashtrapati Sabha Gauravam is a Mahākāvya by Lakshmi Narayan Shan Bhaga. It was produced or written on the occasion of the Golden Jubilee of Congress. And the presidents of Congress, they have been described in this Mahākāvya. So they become the heroes. President, even Subhash Chandra Bose, then Jawaharlal Nehru, whosoever became the Pattabi Sitaramaiah, whosoever become the president of the Congress party. So the history of Congress party becomes the narrative here. And the whole socio-political theme is projected. Nityananda Shastri was one of the great scholars, pundits, and poets of late 19th and early 20th century. And Sriram Charitabdi Ratnam is a voluminous epic by him on the life of Rama, but it has Chitra Kavyas and creative in various ways. Chajjuram Shastri, born in 1895 in Kurukshetra, he has authored two Mahākāvyas, Parushram Digvijay and Shiva Kathamrata. So Parushram Digvijay, the hero is Parashurama. Both of them are heroic Mahākāvyas. Veera Rasa is there. And Durga Vyudayam is his play. And he has written several other works also. Ganga Sagariyam, as I said, that there are works which are allegorical. And Ganga Sagariyam by Vishnudatta Shukla, description of the kingdom of Himalaya is there. And Ganga is the daughter of Himalaya and her life is described. So Ganga is a river and Ganga is a heroine. She is symbolized as a great female lady also in this Mahākāvya. But modern ideas, modern social norms, they form the subject matter of such Mahākāvyas. So social equality and justice, they are projected. When the poet describes the rulership or the kingdom of Himalaya, na bhikshuka kopi bhuvukshito na shoshitas tatra na shoshakopi. In that state of Himalaya or the kingdom of Himalaya, there was no beggar and no hungry person, and there was no exploitation, there was no exploiter, na varna bhedo na cha varga bheda. There was no distinction of class and varna or class, samya sthiti. So it is a projection of samyavada, social equality, and the idea of the modern philosophy, Marxist philosophy, you can say, that has been inculcated here. So Kashinath Dwivedi is one of the great poets and great pundits from Kashi, and he lived from 1897 to 1969, and he has written Rukmini Haranam, a Mahākāvya, on the theme of abduction of Rukmini by Krishna. But it's an example of projecting new social ideas through age-old episode. And story is taken up from Srimad Bhagavata, and it is a voluminous Mahākāvya in 21 cantos. But it describes the life of widows and the exploitation in Hindu society. And Krishna becomes a spokesperson for modern social reforms here. In the same way, Umapati Sharma Dwivedi, he has written Parijat Haranam. And in this Parijat Haranam also, the episode is from Puranas, but new social realities have been projected. Chaitanya Charitamritam is another work by him, revealing the reflections and philosophical speculations. Then Madhav Hari Ane was a freedom fighter. He became governor in post-independence area, post-independence India, well-known leader, political leader. He was a Sanskrit scholar. He was associated with Tilaka and one of the colleagues of Bal Gangadhar Tilaka, and he's written a voluminous Mahākāvyas, 12,000 verses on on the life of Bal Gangadhar Tilaka. The Mahākāvya is titled Tilak Yashornava. Very simple, easygoing style he has adopted, and the whole history of freedom fighting and the life and life journey of Tilak he has described. And Pandita Kshama Devi Rao can be regarded as one of the great poets in the whole history of Sanskrit literature, not only in modern Sanskrit literature, but she should be regarded as one of the best poets in the whole history of Sanskrit literature. And she was a prominent, prolific author and has written 6 Mahākāvyas in Sanskrit. She has experimented with new genres like travelogue, and she has written biography of her father. She was the daughter of great Shankar Pandurang Pandit. Although Shankar Pandurang Pandit passed away when she was just 3 years old, and she had to suffer a lot in her life. Her life journey is also very tragic, and she wanted to participate in national movement for freedom struggle. She went to Gandhiji. Gandhiji advised her to work for social reforms and to remain with Kasturba. She was associated with Kasturba. She has written very powerful short stories in Sanskrit. She has experimented with the form of modern short story. One of the best short story writers in Indian literature. She was writing in English also. She was known as a playwright in English. Her plays were performed on the Mumbai theatre. Later on, she switched over. On the advice of Somerset Maugham, she exclusively adopted Sanskrit as the medium for her creative writings. And Satyagraha Gita is a trendsetter in the history of Mahākāvya literature, in the history of Sanskrit literature, because it changed the whole narrative of the Mahākāvya. And the whole nation and people of the nation, they become actually the hero in this new form. And the whole Satyagraha movement has been taken up as the theme in this Mahākāvya. Of course, Gandhi is the key figure here. The life of Mahatma Gandhi has been described, and his struggle in South Africa, and after his return from South Africa in India, the way he is working in India. So the history of freedom struggle in India up to 1929. And Kshama Rao has seen the whole happenings, suffering of the people and the terror and oppression of the British rulers. So she has described all these things which are happening around her in the Mahākāvyas. So Satyagraha Gita could not be published from India because British rulers would not permit it. So it was published in 1932 from Paris. She had contacts with Sanskrit scholars like Silma Levy in France, and her husband was a well-known physician, and they were visiting Paris quite often. So from Paris, they were able to publish Satyagraha Gita. Then the Uttar Satyagraha Gita and Uttar Jai Satyagraha Gita, the third Mahākāvya in this series. It is also called Swarajya Vijay. So this is a trilogy Mahākāvya Trayi on India's struggle for freedom under Britishers. It ends in gaining the independence and on the death of Mahatma Gandhi. Very tragic feeling, the way Mahatma Gandhi is murdered by Nathuram Godse. She has, in a very harsh terms, she has decried this murder of Mahatma Gandhi, killing of Mahatma Gandhi. And the whole narrative runs on very realistic pattern. So the whole form of Mahākāvya has been changed. It is India's history focusing around this national struggle and the life of Mahatma Gandhi in these 3 Mahākāvyas. Then in the later part of her life, Kshama Rao became devoted to the pursuit of spiritual journey, and she wrote 3 Mahākāvyas on the life of 3 great saints from Maharashtra: Tukaram Charitam, Ramdas Charitam, and Jnaneshwar Charitam. So they are also national epics, we can say. And spirituality as well as culture of Maharashtra has been described. Kshamarava's achievement as a poet are noteworthy, and researches have been done on her works. My own monograph on Kshamarao, published from Sahitya Akademi, under the makers of modern literature, modern Indian literature, their prestigious series that has been published, and it is English translation of the same is also available. Then Meera Lahari is one of the most touching poems by Kshama Rao, describing the life of Meera. And it has very individualistic feelings, because Kshama Rao herself had to struggle like Meera in her life. So it is very personal feeling with fervor and with a personal touch. The life of Meera has been described. Other works I will come again in subsequent lectures, because Kshama Rao's achievement as a short story writer and as a poet also, as a lyric poet also, they are noteworthy. So I will end here with Kshama Rao and come to the other poets. I will omit these very powerful citations from Kshama Rao. Nirankusha pravartante yasmin rajyadhikarina shashanam tad varam nashtam prajahita vivarjitam. Let that rulership come to an end, where such authoritarianism is there, such terrorism is there, and Durbalar anuganyante shanti margavalambina. Those who are fighting peacefully, they are being crushed. Param satyagrahat vidhi nasti tivrataram balam. But there is no power greater than satyagraha. So with these feelings, Kshama Rao writes about the history of India's struggle for national freedom. Kshama Rao was followed by Swami Bhagavatacharya, who was a saint in the Ramananda line, and he was a contemporary of Kshama Rao and Mahatma Gandhi. He also went to South Africa, and the trilogy of his Mahākāvya-s was published from South Africa, not from India. So Bharat Parijata, Parijata Pahar, and Parijata Saurabham, three Mahākāvyas on life of Mahatma Gandhi, voluminous Mahākāvyas. And he is also a very good poet, Swami Bhagavatacharya. Another Mahākāvya besides these three, another Mahākāvya by Bhagavatacharya is Ramananda Charitam, on the life of Ramananda, Vedanta philosopher. He himself is a Swami under the Ramananda sect. So, very authentic treatment of the life of Mahatma Gandhi as well as the life of Ramananda in his Mahākāvyas he has given. Then Trambak Atmaram Bhandarkar is a noted scholar Pandit from Kashi. He was professor in a college in Varanasi, and he has written several works he has authored. He has written Atmacharitam also, on the life, his own life, his autobiography. And Swami Vivekananda Charitam is a Mahākāvya by him, one of the most voluminous epics in 20th century. So, Rukmini Haranam by Sudhi Sudhanidhi Kashinath Dwivedi, who lived from 1897 to 1969. I have referred to this Mahākāvya, and the way these poets writing Mahākāvya on a Puranic theme, but they are taking the issue of untouchability or of social reforms and life of the widows. So these stanzas, how the untouchability and how the injustice towards the asavarnas, towards the downtrodden, towards the lower caste people, this is prevalence in Hindu society. So these poets from Kashi, very traditional poets from Kashi and good poets, even when they are writing on the theme of some story from Puranas, they are influenced by the Gandhian philosophy and the philosophy of social reforms, and they are giving. Otherwise, this Rukmini Haranam is one of the best Mahākāvyas. It's a great classic poetry in it. Then Muni Gyanasagar is one of the great munis from Jaina community, Digambar sect, and he is known as a poet. His Mahākāvyas are equated with the Sri Harsha's Naishad Charitam. He is supposed to be a poet equal to Sri Harsha, the great Sri Harsha of 12th century, who has written Naishadha Charitam, one of the great Mahākāvya-s in classical Sanskrit poetry. He has written 4 Mahākāvya-s and several other writings also he has produced. All of them are on stories from Jaina Puranas, Jayodaya, Virodaya, Sudarshanodaya, and Sri Samudradatta Charita. Then Prabhudatta was a Pandit from Rajasthan, born in 1897, under the district of Alwara. He expired in 1972. And Dhanvantari Charitamratam, Gandhi, Nandi Shraddhamratam, Charkha Vandanamratam, Rashtradhvajamratam, Jhansishwari Shauryamratam, Mahimas Mahimna Stotram. This is a Stotra Kavya, of course. The other Kavyas are of epic nature. And he is writing on spinning wheel, and a poem on a spinning wheel. On the life of Dhanvantari he is writing, and on the life of Gandhi he is writing. So he is also one of the well-known poets in 20th century. Then P.K. Narayan Pillai from Kerala. He has written a good epic poem, Vishwabhanu, on the life of Vivekananda, and another epic poem on on Ramkrishna Paramhansa, titled Dharmasagara. And he is also one of the well-known poets, and their poetry is rich in imagery, imagination, and they are describing these saints of modern India in Sanskrit epic poetry. So now we have done away with authors born in early decades of 20th century. We come now to the authors which are writing during post-independence period. And amongst those authors, Nav Bharatam is an epic by Muthukulam Sridharan from Kerala. He has written on the life of Indira Gandhi in this Nav Bharatam Mahākāvya, and on the life of Jawaharlal Nehru, the birth of Indira Gandhi, her childhood, and Kamala Nehru also. He has described the death of Kamala Nehru, has been described in a very pathetic, sad tone. And Athendirakya Priyadarshini Sa Kulecha Gehe Manideep Bhasa Dine Dine Poshamiyaye Bala Sharat Sudansho Rivarashmi Mala. So the whole beauty of poetry, Indira Gandhi as a child, her beauty and her growth as a child, all these have been described in subtle imageries. There is one of the most beautiful works which I liked very much by Vasudev Dwivedi. He is a Pandit from Kashi. Recently he expired. I think in 210 he expired after living up to the age of 85 years. And this Adyapi is a voluminous epic poem which doesn't follow the set pattern of the Mahākāvya-s, but it describes his travels throughout India, his in autobiographical terms also, his experiences in different conferences, seminars, and it describes the emergence of new India and the whole Sanskrit world also it describes, and the poetry is good. In the beginning, he has offered salutations to the laborers who have been working in mines, who died by the collapse of the mines. His consciousness for the new reality is there. Yam ghor khat maulokya khani pradeshe adyapi bhit hridayam parikampate me. This collapse of mines and the death of laborers in the tunnel, I feel shuddered in my heart when I remember that. Tatraiva te mratimukhe nijamarpayitva shamyanti te paramasahasika namasya. Those who died there and those who sacrificed their lives to save the lives of those laborers, I salute to them. He salutes Marx and Einstein also. He salutes the modern Indian leaders like Mahatma Gandhi also. So it's a new Mangalacharana. The whole epic poem begins with new Mangalacharana. And in this way, the whole experience of his journeys throughout India has been taken up and very living experiences that Vasudeva Trivedi has taken up in this Mahākāvya. There is a Mahākāvya Bajirao Mastaniyam. It's a romantic poetry describing the love between Bajirao and Mastani, well-known history, and beautiful romantic feeling pervades throughout the Mahākāvya. Kerlodayam I have referred. Ken Age Chatan, Age Tachan has written this Kerlodaya Mahākāvya. It's a voluminous epic describing the whole civilization, culture, and history of Kerala. Then P.C. Devasya I have referred to. Kristu Bhagavatam he has written. He was born in 1906, and Life of Christ and Maryam, beauty of Maryam he has described, and the way Christ is tortured and put to cross. He himself is a Christian. There are several Christian Pandits, Sanskrit Pandits in Kerala. They have written quite a lot in Sanskrit. Even Nayayikas from Christian families in Sanskrit are there in Kerala. This is the tradition. Muslim scholars are also there. They are writing good poetry in Sanskrit. So Sanskrit is not restricted to any community. It's an international language, and it is adopted for communication and expression and for creative writing by other communities. Harihar Dwivedi has written Goswami Tulsidas Charitam. Muni Nathmal is a great Jain Muni. He is known as Mahapragya after his Diksha, but as Muni Nathmal also, he has contributed quite a lot to Sanskrit, modern Sanskrit poetry. And Bhikshu Mahākavyam is a very pathetic Mahākavya by him. One of the most touching poetic specimen of modern Sanskrit literature. Then Prabhudatta Swami has written Purva Bharatam and Maurya Chandrodayam on the life of Chandragupta Maurya. He has written this Mahākavya, and Purva Bharatam is a national epic, again describing the India's struggle for freedom. Then Shivrajyodayam is one of the greatest epics produced in 20th century in Sanskrit in India by Sridhar Bhaskar Varnekar. It is one of the most voluminous epics also in Sanskrit, 68 cantos, and the whole life of Shivaji Maharaja has been described. Poetry is very rich, profound poetry is here in Shivrajyodayam. Otherwise, also Sridhar Bhaskar Varnekar is a noted scholar and author in Sanskrit. Then Vasant Tyambak Shevade is also one of the Mahakavis. He was born in 1917. He has written several works. Many of them are Mahākāvya-s. Raghunatha Tarkik Shiromani Charitam. We can see that they are writing on the life of a great Nayayika. Raghunath Shiromani is well-known Nayayika of 16th century. And Vindhya Vasini Vijay Mahakavyam on the Mahishasur Mardan theme he has written. And Shumbhavada Mahakavyam again on the same theme he has written. And Sri Deveshwar Mahakavyam he has written. So 4 Mahakavyas he has written, and other writings also he has contributed to. Vasant Tyambak Shevade otherwise is a great Pandit, a scholar, and a good poet. Shriram Dave has written epics of different note. Pratyabharanam is a Mahākavya by him, but it takes up the problem of Bhratya, that is unemployment, and the life of the youth who are unemployed. The sad story of the young persons in India who can't get employment, and those who get employment, the way getting the employment changes their life. This is the theme in the Mahākavya. So the whole scenario in Mahākavya has changed. The Raj Lakshmi Swayamvaram, it's then satire and parody, Vyangya and Hasya, they have been introduced in these Mahākavyas. So Raj Lakshmi, the satta or the power, how it changes the life of the person. This is the theme here. So these are the Mahākavyas by Sri Ram Dave. And Bajirao Mastaniyam I have referred. Now there are Mahākavyas on the Dalit leaders by some of the good poets. Prabhakar Shankar Joshi is a good poet from Maharashtra. He has written a voluminous Mahākavya on the life of Bhimrao Ambedkar, Bhimayanam. And another Mahākavya on Ambedkar is Ambedkar Charitam by Baldev Mehra. Baldev Mehra himself comes from Dalit family. Mehra, same family, the same scheduled caste in which Ambedkar was born. And he is a Sanskrit professor. He has written on an epic poem on Ambedkar Charitam. So the language has changed. It is now very realistic, and it criticizes the social disparities and injustice to the downtrodden, to the lower caste societies. And otherwise, this Bhimayanam Mahakavya has very rich poetry, very poetic it is. Then Paramananda Shastri is one of the most powerful poets of 20th century. And he has written 3 Mahakavyas, Jan Vijayam, Chirharanam and Kalidas Charitam. He has inculcated quite a new sentimentality, new sensitivity in Sanskrit poetry, Paramananda Shastri. And Jan Vijayam is a Mahakavya on emergency. You see that there is a Sanskrit poet writing a Mahakavya on emergency. And the way people were oppressed during emergency under the rulership of Indira Gandhi, he has written the way people are mercilessly put into jails, innocent people are thrust into the jails. All this history in Janavijaya Mahakavyam and people's struggle in emergency, that also he has written. He is a non-political person. He was a Sanskrit professor, nothing to do with any political party as such, but he is writing on the social realities. Otherwise, he has written on the life of Indira Gandhi also. On the death of Indira Gandhi, he had written a very good elegy, this Paramananda Shastri. But he can write a Mahakavya on the whole history of emergency, those 2 years of horror. And it's supposed to be a powerful epic in Sanskrit, Jan Vijayam. Then Chirharanam, on the episode of Dushasana dragging Draupadi into Duryodhana's court after Yudhishthira is defeated in gambling. And this Draupadi's pathetic call to Sri Krishna. This story is taken up to symbolize the life and struggle of modern woman in India. Modern sensibility is inculcated in the whole poem. So it is not the old Draupadi, it is modern women who is giving a call, and she is struggling to save her Sheila here. Then Kalidas Charitam is another epic poem by Paramananda Shastri. Suraj Vijayam by Dvijendranath Shukla and Gandhi Charitam by Sadhu Sharan Mishra. These are 2 epics on India's national struggle for freedom and on the life of Gandhiji. Then we come to some of the modern authors, great authors like Reva Prasad Dwivedi. He is one of the greatest poets. Even if we count best poets in Sanskrit, right from the beginning of Sanskrit poetry, Reva Prasad Dwivedi has to be counted. Shamal Rao and Reva Prasad Dwivedi, they are the poets who should be ranked with poets like Bharagavi, Kalidasa, Magha, best of the Sanskrit poets. Great poets they are. 3 Mahakavyas by Reva Prasad Dwivedi. And they present the vast spectrum of Sanskrit poetry today. And is Swatantriya Sambhavam Mahakavya. The whole history of India, right from the beginning of the history up to the modern times, he has written. It's a voluminous epic, more than 100. It's a growing epic. In the first edition, there are only 75 cantos. In the second edition, they became 100, and third edition, even more. He updates the narrative up to Anna Hazare's fasting during Congress rule around 2014. So whole history on a large canvas is written. And Sita Charitam or Utta Sita Charitam by Reva Prasad Dwivedi is one of the best Mahakavyas again in Sanskrit. And the way Sita is depicted here as a Rashtra Devata, he says that she is the national deity. And the way Sita's life and vision of Sita is projected here. And the third Mahakavya by Reva Prasad Dwivedi is Kumar Sambhav on the Puranic episode of Kartikeya. Kartikeya again is a great Senani. So all these Mahakavyas are breathed in the spirit of New India and the making of New India. Then Digambar Mahapatra has written a Mahakavya on the life of Surendranath, who was a freedom fighter. Surendra Charit Mahakavya, in 11 cantos. Surendra Sai was a veteran freedom fighter from Orissa. Digambar Mahapatra is an author from Orissa. Then Sri Krishnananda Mahākāvya by Vanmali Das. It is a Mahākāvya imbibing Vaishnavite faith, and it relieves the spirit of Srimad Bhagavata. Hariprishta Mahākāvya by him is full of pathos and devotional fervor. Again, they are writing on the life of Vaishnavite saints and on religious themes also. Radha Mohan Upadhyay has composed a voluminous Mahākāvya, Bharat Vijayam, presenting the growth of Indian civilization, starting from Vedic age and ending in the eulogy of Dr. APJ Kalam and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So the Sanskrit Pandits, Sanskrit poets are updating the history through Mahākāvya-s and new socio-political awareness is there in their poems. Satyavrata Shastri is a noted poet. He is a Gyanpith Awardee for Sanskrit poetry. Bodhisattva Charitam and Guru Gobind Singh Charitam and Indira Gandhi Charitam and Ram Kirti Komudi, 4 Mahākāvyas by him. His poetry is like Kalidasa's poetry, Vedarbhi Riti, very easy-going, lucid, perspicuous style, rich in imagery and otherwise experimentations also. And Abhiraj Rajendra Mishra is also one of the major authors in Sanskrit. Vamana Charitam and Janaki Jivanam, 2 Mahākāvyas he has written. In Janaki Jivanam, he has experimented by introducing folk forms, folk songs, and new forms also he has introduced in the Mahākāvya. Then Jad Bharata has been presented as hero in Ram Kumar Sharma's Mahākāvya, Bharat Charitam. It is published in 1997. Paraddi Mallikarjunam from Karnataka is a well-known author. He writes on the life and deeds of Sri Sant Bashveshwara, well-known saint from Karnataka. So Basau Bhaskarodaya is his Mahākāvya, published in 1998. And in this way, new themes are taken up, social reformists are taken up. Ramchandra Ambika Datta Shandilya opens the forgotten chapters of ancient Indian history by Chachavansh Mahākāvya, depicting the life of Chacha, the king of Sindhu Desha. And Gajanan Balkrishna Palsule has written on the life of Veer Savarkar in his Vinayakam, 25 cantos. It's a big epic. And Batohi Jha has written Gita Anantarasam on the life of Chaitanya, and all these epics are projecting new themes in Mahākāvyas. And Narayan Shastri Kankar has written a voluminous epic, Rachanabhyudaya Mahākāvya. And there's no consistency in the plot. Several episodes are taken up. So some such experimental Mahākāvyas are also written. Charcha Mahākāvya by Shivdatta Chaturvedi. So each sarga projects the life of one person. Even one sarga, one canto projects the life of Marx, one canto projects the life of Einstein. So in this way, new Mahākāvyas, the pattern has changed. And Atmavigyan by Kapil Dev Dwivedi is a spiritual Mahākāvya. It projects the Upanishadic philosophy as such. Vayappanam by Motiram Shastri is a Bhakti Prabandha. It describes various legends and sacred places, Tirthasthanas on the banks of river Narmada. So Nityananda Shastri Dadhicha is a prolific author, and Ramacharitabdi Ratnam is a voluminous Mahākāvya by him. And there are several other authors. Vidyadhar Shastri, he has written Mahākāvyas with new themes, and several works he has otherwise written is Shiv Pushpanjali, Surya Prarthana, and Vidyadhar Shatakam. These are his other works, but his Vidyadhana Niti Ratnam is also a good poem, and several other works by Vidyadhar Shastri are there, which are of epic proportions. Muni Gyan Sagar I have referred to. Brahmananda Shukla has written a Mahākāvya on the life of Nehru. Nehru Charitamrit Mahakavyam. Venkatram Raghavan is one of the major authors in 20th century. He has written Muthuswami Charit Mahakavya on the life of Muthuswami, one of the maestros of music and a great saint also. He is a great poet, Venkatram Raghavan, and 17 cantos. In 17 cantos, in his epic, he depicts the life and deeds of Muthuswami. Sudhakar Shukla is also one of the great poets, and Ramkuver Malviya from Kashi. He has written Malviya Charita Mahakavya on the life of Malviya, and Vasant Tempak Shevde I have referred to, and Sridhar Bhaskar Varnekar also I have referred to. There are other authors. Paramananda Shastri I have described. Harinaran Dikshit has written Bhishma Charitam, describing the life of Bhishma from Mahabharata, but the narrative has been changed, and Bhishma is projected like a national hero, and his sacrifice and his vision for nation, that also is described. Padma Shastri has written a Mahakavya Leninamritam. It has been awarded Soviet Land Nehru Award from Russia government, and the life of Lenin, the great Russian leader, has been described in 15 cantos. And Swarajyam is another poem by Padma Shastri, and other authors I have described. I think I must end here, because there are several modern authors like Ramshankar Avasthi, who has recently awarded Sahitya Akademi Award, and he has written several Mahakavyas. Ajijan Bai Charitam is a Mahakavya by him in 8 cantos. It describes the life of Ajijan Bai, a prostitute, but she sacrifices her life for national struggle. So the beauty of the Mahakavya, you see, new themes are taken up, and quite new heroes are projected in these Mahakavyas. Vanadevi by Ram Shankar Avasthi on the life of Sita was awarded Sahitya Akademi Award recently, and several other works are also by him. Then there are spiritual themes taken up in some Mahakavyas, like in Mohabhangam by Rasik Bihari Joshi. He has written on the episode of Sobhari, and in Vishnu Purana the penance of King Sobhari has been described, and how because of his infatuation the penance is interrupted, and Sobhari becomes drawn towards worldly pleasures, but again he uh, comes back to his spiritual quest and spiritual journey. This is the theme in Mohabhangam. Nachiket Mahakavyam by Hariram Acharya takes up the episode of Nachiketa and his spiritual quest and his the dialogue with Yama, as described in Kathopanishad. That has been very poetically described in Nachiketa Kavyam by Hariram Acharya. So in this way, the journey of Sanskrit Mahakavya during 19th and 20th centuries continues, and there are several facets of Sanskrit Mahakavya. New experimentations are done, new heroes have been projected, the concept of hero has changed, and it's a rich treasure of literature in Sanskrit Mahakavya. Here I end my lecture. It's a vast literature, you see. It is difficult to cover 1,000 works, more than 1,000 works written during past 2 centuries. Hardly a glimpse of it I could have done. I could have been able to present here. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Tripathi, for sharing your views on today's topic, which was Mahākāvya-s in modern Sanskrit literature. As I had mentioned at the top of this video, this is second in a new series of talks by the well-known Indian scholar Dr. Tripathi ji, brought to you by INDICA Bhasha. The first in this series, Modern Sanskrit Writings, Genres and Trends, can be accessed from the description link of this video. With those few words, I once again thank Professor Tripathi for sharing his views on this particular topic, and I look forward to coming back with the next video in this series with him very soon. Dhanyawad, Professor.
Okay, thank you.